Hi, everyone. I am your host, Cindy, and welcome to my next episode. This series focuses strictly on finances and relationships before marriage and how it could be an excellent way to help couples navigate money matters and build a strong foundation. So, today's episode is called Financial Compatibility Check. Are we on the same page? And we are diving in. So, I want you to imagine this scenario. You are out shopping with your partner, you find this really gorgeous couch that just screams dream home vibes, right? We always go out shopping, we see something we like, and think, you know what? That would be a good fit for our living room or our kitchen or our master bedroom. While one of you is ready to swipe your card without any hesitation, the other is staring at the price tag like, what? This is not my vibe anymore. So, this is just one really good example where understanding each other's financial priorities really does matter. No fights, just peace and harmony, even with the couch that costs just as much as your rent. So, I want to talk about attitudes towards saving, spending, and even investing. So, yep, we are diving into it. And I want to talk about the significance of individual attitudes towards money. How do you perceive money? And how do you talk about it? Do you even have conversations about it? So, number one, let's talk savings, security versus growing wealth. So, it's all about finding balance. And I'm a firm believer in finding balance anywhere in your financial portfolio, whether it be in budgeting, whether it be in investing. It's always about balance between, in this case, savings for security and growing wealth through investments. And that to me is a cornerstone of financial planning as a couple. Savings for security is all about having a safety net for those unexpected expenses or emergencies. And let me tell you, yes, they do happen. I'm sure you've encountered many unexpected expenses and you didn't have a safety net. So you find yourself in a bind, you find yourself borrowing money, and that's just not cool. Like that, you need a safety net, especially now that you're building a future with your partner. Now, growing wealth involves investing in assets like, investing in the stock market or even real estate, to achieve higher returns over time. Now, the key is to finding that balance that will help align with your financial goals as a couple, but also considering the risk tolerance because, investing in anything is a risk. So, now let's talk about spending necessities versus luxuries. And I know there are a lot of you out there that make good money and think, you know what? It's okay to splurge once in a while. And trust me, I was that person. But, this often comes down to priorities and values as a couple, but also individually. So let's talk necessities. Necessities are essential items. That's it. They're essential items, maybe even some services required for survival and also our well being. So, I'll give you some examples: shelter, putting a roof over our head, food on the table, healthcare, clothing. We've got to wear clothes, we've got to eat, right? We've got to take care of ourselves. Those are necessities. Now, what about luxuries? Luxuries are non essential items or experiences like concerts. These are nice to have rather than must have items. And striking a balance between spending on necessities and indulging in luxuries is the key to maintaining financial health. You need to find that balance. Now, let's talk investing. And I don't typically get too much into investment talk because I am a financial coach. I'm going to help coach and guide you through money habits and managing your money and savings and paying off your debt, things like that. And I do not give advice. So I am not a financial advisor. I do not give advice on investments, but I can generally speak to it. And I do want to talk about the risk tolerance. I do want to talk about goals and the timing of investing. So, investing does involve a lot of risk, as you know, and you need to be able to balance between that risk, setting some clear goals for yourself and your partner, and also timing. Timing is also important when it comes to investing effectively. Now, risk tolerance refers to how much risk are you willing to take? How much risk are you comfortable in taking with your investments? And investment goals are defined as what are you aiming to achieve? Is it a brand new home? Is it new furniture? Maybe it's that vacation destination. Maybe it's retirement in 20 years. I don't know. Those are investment goals. Now, timing is crucial when it comes to investing because it's basically the period or time frame that you plan to hold your investments. For example, if you're investing in a goal in like 10 years, say you're going to retire in 10 years from now, you can afford to ride out the risks on the market. But if you're planning a vacation in the next 2 years, obviously the risk is much higher, right? You can't afford to take that risk. So these are just some things that I think that need balance. Now, let's talk about aligning money philosophies in a partnership. Now, I want to give you some practical tips for just finding that common ground with your partner. And I think it's really important to talk about identifying shared goals. Do you guys both have the same desire to go on vacation? Do you want to own a home, or maybe one already owns a home, maybe you want to sell a home and own a home together, maybe you want to rent out a home and purchase a new home, maybe it's retirement. Those are shared goals, being on the same page when it comes to having the same financial goals or just goals in general. Now, communication is so important. I think that it's so important when it comes to talking about finances and being on the same page. I think just even early on, that conversation is just as important. And discussing your values openly, vulnerably, early on as well. So you can talk about things like your spending habits, maybe your goals financially, maybe you want to pay off some debt, maybe you want to be debt free in about, 5 years from now. And also, I do recommend observing your partner's attitude towards money. Like, how do they, like, if it's too early on and you don't want to have that discussion with them, that's okay too. But maybe try to observe their attitude towards money. How are they when you want to say, hey, let's split the bill? Or how about you cover and I'll cover? Like, how are they towards that? And how are they towards talking about their future? Now, even sharing financial experiences that either they have encountered or you have encountered, that's really good to even, kind of observe those habits and the attitudes towards money as well. But also lifestyle preferences. Like, does your partner want to go to fancy restaurants every week? Or do they want to stay home and cook meals? I mean, these are really good pointers to see what their attitude is towards money. Now, let's talk about areas of conflict because I feel like that, there's a lot of conflict triggers, most commonly conflict triggers. And I feel like I want to highlight those. I feel like I want to talk about those a little bit because, they probably don't get talked about enough. So I think lifestyle expectations, people are going to come into relationships with some high expectations, and it's not reasonable, especially if one makes more than the other or one makes less than the other and you want to build a future together, you've got to compromise on those expectations. And also emergency fund priorities. Do you prioritize emergency funds? Emergency funds is maybe 3 to 6 months of, of your fixed income or your fixed expenses. Maybe it's, 6 to 12 months of fixed expenses to cover everything in case someone loses a job. Like, where are your priorities with your emergency fund? Also, investments versus debt repayment. If you have a ton of debt and you're over here wanting to spend some money on investing, I mean, that's probably not that wise, right? Like, that's probably not a good decision at the time. Like, or during this time, if you have a lot of debt, try to focus on paying down most of your debt. Now, all in all, whether it be areas of conflict or trying to find common ground, whatever the case is, and with communication, I just think that communication is key. Communicating consistently on a weekly basis about each other's finances is so important. Make it a priority. Make it a priority and a conversation every single week. And if you need to have it more frequently than that, have it more frequently. I say more the better. And obviously, I've talked about, timing is everything, finding the right moment to talk about finances. I've actually have a podcast episode on those conversations and how to navigate those conversations early on. So, if you have a chance, go hear those episodes. If you're curious about having to make those conversations or even finding the right moment to bring it up early on in the relationship. I mean, those are really good episodes to listen to. But I want to close with this. So, understanding each other's financial values, okay? Financial values is key to building a strong, united future together. If you foresee that you want to spend the rest of your life with your partner, I highly recommend that you have a really good understanding of each other's values, morals, ethics, everything, especially in the financial space. It's not about being identical, okay? It's not about having the same thing, same goals, same this, same that. No, it's about learning how to complement each other's strengths. So, remember, working toward financial peace is just one beautiful way to strengthen your relationship. It's going to establish trust. It's going to help with your communication later down the line. It's going to help to prevent any conflict. And I'm telling you, finances is the number one reason for divorce in a lot of marriages. It truly is. It's statistical. Like, it's the number one reason for divorce. So try to work on this early on in a relationship before getting married. Talk about your finances. So, if you want more tips, you want some more updates, follow me on Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Apple Music, or Spotify to my podcast so you don't miss out on any of my next episodes. So until then, take care.